spent a lot of time with him. You had
Thank you for
conversations
that.
with him. What was he like?
Thank you for that. A friend of mine just asked me, have you ever been asked a question no one asked, and you have just asked me? Dr. King, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King were brothers. They had incredible senses of humor. They could make you laugh in the worst of times. And they did so. And you know, I never trust people who don't laugh, who said, I'm serious, and act as if they put airplane glue on the back of their hands and stuck it to their forehead. I think you're not serious, you're boring as hell. But if you're serious, you really understand that it's important that you laugh as much as possible and admit that you're the funniest person you ever met. So Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were serious men. Rosa Parks was a sister friend of mine.
Really? Wow.
And visited me here in North Carolina. And she was funny, and we laughed together. Coretta Scott King and Betty Shabazz, they were sisters of mine. And we laughed together. We also wept together. But you have to laugh. Admit that you're funny. Otherwise, you die in solemnity.
And you talked about courage earlier. I mean, the courage of a Rosa Parks, of a Coretta Scott King, of a Dr. King, of a Malcolm X. I mean,
Of a Betty
just
Shabazz.
just extraordinary. I mean, really, truly extraordinary people, and the courage of people who never made headlines, whose names history does not even remember, but who in small ways stood up and helped change things for all of us.
Yes. There were men like Ralph Abernathy and men and women who just dared, white women too, and white men. I mean, look at the Kennedys at a time when it really wasn't popular to think about fair play for everybody. No, but there are men and women who showed us. We have had people, teachers, preachers, rabbis, priests, all along the way to encourage us to be more than what we seem to be. And somehow, I don't know, I think it's timidity and fear, which makes people say, oh, well, I don't think I want to do that. I don't dare do that. That means that I have to stand out here alone. Well, you're not alone. You're with right.
Do you believe that the arc of history is moving in the right direction? And President Obama recently, when he was talking about Trayvon Martin, he said that he looks at his daughters and that his daughter's generation is better than his generation was. And
yes, I do.
You believe that?
Yes, I do. I know that there was a time when people were lynched with everybody's agreement. Not everybody, but with the might's agreement. The might was white and white was might. And so people were lynched. I grew up in a village in Arkansas where a man was lynched and the skin of his body, after being lynched and burned, the skin was taken off in sizes of skin the size of a postage stamp and given to people as mementos. You can't do that in the United States today. I mean, you can lynch people and murder people in many ways, but you can't do it in the city square. You see, we are better, not nearly enough. Not nearly enough. But we come, and we have to admit that, because Mr. Cooper, if we don't, young people will say, you mean to tell me with the lives and deaths of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Rosa Parks and the Kennedys and these, that well then it's no point in me trying, because those people were bigger than life. So we have to say you have come a long way.
You asked questions in a Time magazine article recently that you authored, and questions that I want to ask you. You wrote, can you imagine if we did not have this undergirded hate and racism prejudices and sexism and ageism, if we were not crippled by these idiocies, can you imagine what our country would be like? How can you answer those questions? Can you imagine?
I'm brought to weep when I think what my country can be and will be when we develop enough courage to act courageously and with courtesy and respect for each other. Just imagine what on earth we wouldn't have to say we're the most powerful country in the world. We will be the most powerful country in the world. Not because we have might, but because we have right.
Dr. Angelou, thank you so much for talking to me. I appreciate it.
It's my delight, Mr. Cooper. You have increased my being because of your own courage. Your intellect, your intelligence, two different things, and your own courage. Thank you very much.